Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my thoughts on Season 1 of Vampire Diaries. So, about 8 to 9 months ago, I actually created a video talking about certain things that I noticed in Vampire Diaries that really made it stand out from many other shows that I've seen throughout the years. And at the time, I saw about 6 to 7 episodes, so there was a lot of mystery and intrigue, and I still didn't really get a good understanding of the story. Now, since I've completed Season 1, I have a much better understanding of the story, and I wanted to give my unscripted, just straight from the heart thoughts on Vampire Diaries Season 1, because I completed. So I went like 8 months without seeing episode 8. And then I just started watching it, and within like the span of, I don't even know, probably like a week or two, I was able to completely binge the entire series, rather the first season of the entire of the series, and a lot of it's still on my mind. And I just want to give a quick overview and see how this goes. If you guys like these type of videos, please do comment your thoughts down below on it. And if you guys want to see additional videos about Vampire Diaries, leave your thoughts down below on it. So, first thing that I want to speak about are the characters, because I think the characters in this series truly enhance the overall experience. First is the polarity between Stefan and Damon. Stefan is someone who's trying to be good, who's trying to tame his more sort of primitive, animalistic impulses, whereas Damon does sometimes, but doesn't. And Stefan has a very sort of good heart, or he's at least trying to have good intentions. And one thing that many people have commented throughout the years, not necessarily in regards to the Vampire Diaries, but just in general, is that when you have a good character who has a good moral compass, there's really degrees, rather, there's limitations put on what the character can do just because he's a good character. So it's not like he can cause crime or, have a complete shift in his personality. Like, the character that remains good or is trying to remain good has certain things that they can do. It's not that they're boring, it's just that they're not as, it's almost like, I guess, like a bad boys versus good guys. Good guys probably are better to be with for the long term, but the bad guys, they give more of that emotional thrill. I think that's kind of an accurate representation of Stefan. Now, Damon, on the other hand, interestingly enough, is a good guy, but also a bad guy. So he's like an anti-hero where he does things in terms of how he feels and if it makes sense for him to do it or not. And I think that's one of the main attractions behind Damon as a character. And so the polarity between Damon and Stefan, brothers, was, I think, basically the icing on top for Season 1, and I'd imagine for the entire series, because it's so awesome to see the interactions between those two characters, them obviously having a very long, rich, emotional, in-depth past, and they were basically in love with the same woman, which makes it even more intense and, interesting to want to see. So I can go on a very long tangent about Stefan and Damon. I want to save that for separate videos, but that was, I think, an awesome addition to the story. Second is obviously Elena. I like Elena a lot because she experiences a tragedy. She loses both of her parents. She's like, I think 16, 17, 18 years old. She has a whole life ahead of her. A tragedy occurs. On top of that, she has a younger brother, Jeremy, who she loves and cares and adores for. And she's going to school. I think, in fact, she dated Matt from the past. So there was obviously these relationship issues that were going on. She finds Stefan attractive. She meets someone that she's attracted to, so there's that love and intimacy there to kind of alleviate the suffering that she went through. But then she gets sucked in to this crazy world. She goes from being a normal high school student to then obviously experiencing a tragedy, which many people do not experience, the loss of her parents, to then finding some extremely attractive man in high school, figuring out who's a vampire, and the next thing you know, her whole life changes within a matter of weeks. And now she has to get accustomed to this life. And the crazy thing about it is that she has some sort of connection with these vampires in this whole crazy, not crazy in a negative way, but crazy in like a positive, beautiful way, story that's going on in the town that she's in. And it's a small town, by the way. So that kind of dynamic of seeing Elena at her emotional highs, emotional lows, feeling angry, feeling enraged, feeling joy, caring for her brother, seeing her friends being basically used against her, and seeing how she responds to that is such a beautiful thing to observe. So that is one thing I really liked about Elena. Now, the supporting characters, such as Jeremy, Matt, Caroline, Bonnie, and a few other characters, what I really, really loved about Vampire Diaries Season 1 was that these were not just supporting characters that were put off to the side. So they just had importance in regards to what Damon, Stefan, or Elena were doing. No, they had their own little trials and tribulations, their own little personal dramas and personal issues that were going on within the story. So it was like the big story, and then within that were little subplots to have those characters have their own moments and have their own time to shine. And that is something that I am very appreciative and that I really like, because you have stories, television series, where there are characters who have such potential, but they're put off to the sideline, or there's really no kind of room for them to shine, or there's really no care for them because who cares? Let's just put them off to the side. And if they have nothing to do with the main character, so be it. On the flip side, in Vampire Diaries, they obviously do have something to do with the main characters, but they have their own little past. We get to see, like for example, Matt's mom, which is very unfortunate. She ends up having some stuff with Damon, and then I forget the other character's name, but basically the mayor's son, she has some things with him, and then poor Matt. Poor Matt is just a good dude, and he has this trauma, and then also his sister, I believe Sister Vicky, passes away, right? So that's very sad to see, and that is such. Obviously, it's sad for Matt, but for us as viewers, at least for me, I really liked that, and I thought that was a cool addition. I guess the kind of other thing that really stood out to me was Jeremy and Anna. Jeremy and Anna, them having their own little romance, their little subplot, was awesome. I really found so much enjoyment from that, and I really like Jeremy as a character. I also like Anna as a character a lot too. She has a lot of depth to her, and the actress who portrayed her did a wonderful job. Same goes for the actor who portrayed Jeremy, did a wonderful job. But to see their little romance and how from Anna, she figures out about Damon and what happens with Vicky, and then also how Elena has been lying to Jeremy the entire time. That was really some spicy stuff right there. And then also figuring out that Elena is adopted, and her father is the uncle, and she sees her mom, and her mom got pregnant at like 15 years old, which is pretty uncommon, to be honest. That's just, it's just additional layers to the story. But I think, and this, by the way, is just some things that I want to speak about. There's a lot that I could speak about, but these are just some other positives that I really liked. First was the small town setting. I really like that. I've always been a fan of smaller, sort of village-like, town-like type of settings where the characters interact with each other, and also it makes sense. Like if you live in a small town, yeah, you're gonna bump into Caroline, right? You're gonna bump into Bonnie. You're gonna bump into Jeremy. You're gonna bump into your own, uncle at a bar, which they tend to go to the pub or whatever, because they're in a small town, right? So like that's beautiful. And that makes sense. And instead of like having like they're in big cities and the main character sees another character that they go to work with randomly or mysteriously, since it's in a small town, it makes sense for them to bump into each other. So the small town was really nice, and the lore behind Mystic Falls and why the vampires need to be demolished and relinquished basically from the from the existence was a good addition. and the supernatural element woven within the town and in the story was great. Like us understanding about things like Vervain, us understanding how like Damon and Stefan can't enter into people's doors without them getting approval from the person. That was cool. And then seeing their strengths and abilities and how the almost like the lust for blood is very strong. And that was cool. And then I guess two more things that I want to speak about. This video could be much longer. There's a lot more that I can speak about, but I want to really condense it just to kind of give things that are currently roaming on my mind that I just want to express to you guys. Second thing was Catherine. The whereabouts about Catherine. Where is she? Damon literally was seeking her for the rest of his life. And us seeing Catherine in the season finale. She literally kisses Damon, and Damon thinks that's Elena. And then I think his name's Uncle Joe talks to Elena, who he thought, rather it was Catherine, who he thought was Elena. And then that happens to be Catherine, and she literally cuts his fingers off and then ends his life. That's crazy. And that, I think, is such a great way to end the season off and show who Catherine really is. And my biggest question, why would Stefan and Damon fall in love with someone like that, right? These are not naive characters. These are really intelligent, smart people. And I want to see what happens, like, exploring more into why they were so charmed by this woman who clearly is hyperly intelligent. Like, Catherine might honestly be a genius if you think about it, because she's the one pulling all the strings and manipulating all these characters and manipulating Damon, manipulating Joe, manipulating Elena's mother, and then Stefan, and then even the father. I mean, she's a mastermind, very strategical, right? They're all playing checkers, she's playing chess. And that was cool. And so I want to see kind of more about Catherine, which obviously we'll observe in season 2. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind. And I haven't seen season 2, by the way. I'm going to start watching episodes later on tonight. So that was just, those are just a few things that really stood out to me. Another thing that I want to kind of, focus a bit more on is how they ended each episode. And I think Vampire Diaries, like, honestly just deserves an award for that, because every single episode there'd be some mystery, something just happened right out of the blue, or some additional sort of element to the story. And you figure out more about the mysteries of Damon, Stefan, Catherine, the vampires that were encapsulated in that grave or the tomb, and you start to figure out more about Elena and her mom and what happens and what's really going on. And by them doing that, it really made me want to see each and every episode. And that, I think, is such brilliant writing. So those are just some of the things that I've really noticed and focused a lot of my attention on for season 1 of Vampire Diaries. I'm very impressed with this season so far, and I really like the show. I'm going to create more content on this. Hope you guys really enjoyed this video. Please do leave a like down below, and please do share your thoughts on what you think about Vampire Diaries season 1. Thank you and have a great day.